I think I think Wounded via P3 production at the Hollywood Fringe Festival is a must-see. You're going to see two artists that are on purpose and doing what they were put on this planet to do, with a piece that is rife with comedy and tragedy it's what I was put on this planet to do, as far as experiencing all the feels. And you're going to see two artists at the top of their game throwing down and telling a story unlike it's been told before. Hey, this is Craig Taggart. I am starring in Wounded, playing the role of Carrol. If you'd like to know more, just listen in. I am in love with this Playwright style. I honestly feel as if, Jiggs, Burgess, and I, the playwright, have never met, but I feel as if he has written something that comes from my soul, in that I feel such a connection to Carrol, in the fact that the way Jiggs has crafted this character is that he's rife with witticisms, and there's an innate poignancy to him. The words that come out of his mouth are so delicious to say because it's rooted in Southern humor, and that's something that I've always had an affinity for based on having grown up in Missouri. My grandmother would say, we're not Southern, we're country. But it's been a writing style that I've always had, held very close to my heart. And Jiggs is so talented with it that he makes the work of an actor quite easy simply by speaking the words that are on paper. My character, Carrol, goes through quite the arc in Wounded, in that at the beginning of this chapter of the story, he is a nervous wreck. He is expecting company, somebody who he has not seen in years, who he's very, very excited to see. And we go on quite the journey of his nervousness and then settling into the pain and the pain that comes from the honesty of his experience with his guest that comes to visit, and the terms of his own life, and his coming to terms with the failed purpose that has been his existence, and unrealized dreams that he's experienced. So it's quite the ride of nervousness and being frazzled, and how he overcompensates that, and ultimately being honest with both himself and a loved one. The layering of the themes of Wounded, even just looking at it from the standpoint of why is that the title? Wounded, in the fact that it speaks to the experience of humanity, in that how do we rebound from being hurt? And what happens when we're hurt? How do we process that? It reminds me a lot of the Langston Hughes poem of A Dream Deferred. What happens to a dream deferred? Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun? Does it fester? And there's a lot of components in Carrol and in Robert, who's also the other character in the play, of what Wounded looks like, what Wounded is, and how does one overcome being hurt. Well, John has been delightful. I can tell, over the course of pre-production, if you will, and planning out the schedules, he has the most amazing attitude. I can tell that this is a project that he really wants to see take flight, and it's a special bond that he and I have now in being a part of something that has never existed before. P3 through John is literally giving this piece its first opportunity to come to life. And I can tell just in the exchanges we've had via email about how excited he is to work on this and how much fun this is going to be as a collaboration. I am most looking forward to when performing Wounded live on stage is feeling that connection with number one, I'm looking forward to throwing down with Shaw Jones. He is one of my favorite actors. I am thrilled beyond measure that he is doing this with me. And the other thing that I love as an actor, as I've spoken to, as far as the difference between film and television, is I was born to be on stage. I know that is my purpose. And having that exchange and that relationship with an audience for an hour and a half, telling this story, knowing that they've got a connection to this character just like I've got a connection to this character, and that we'll all walk away with it, learning something a little bit about ourselves. I do have a history with Shaw Jones, my co-star in Wounded, in that we first met about a decade ago at the Richard Lawson Studios. So we've studied acting together. So what's really cool about this particular project as we get ready to jump in is that he and I already have a chemistry and a shorthand of working with one another. I trust him implicitly. I know that the work that he's going to bring to the table is going to impinge me. I know that I can volley back to him and have that exchange that otherwise would take a little bit of getting to know you with a total stranger, and we actually can bring the history that is inherent between Carrol and Robert through Craig and Shaw. So I'm really excited about that, and I cannot wait to play with. He's brilliant, and I can't wait for everybody to see how just phenomenal he is. And selfishly, I can't wait to play. I think audiences will be surprised with Wounded at its unapologetic honesty. It peels away throughout the course of the story some really, really dark, some really, really painful experiences that this individual, that Carrol, has gone through. Because as with great Southern writing, it's all the feels. It's laugh out loud, and then on a dime, you're on the verge of crying your heart out, because funny people oftentimes are the deepest wounded. And it's inherent in the writing, but I think people will be really surprised with just how honest the character ultimately becomes regarding his experience and how raw that is. I am most looking forward, relative to the whole experience of Fringe, of seeing all the different art forms that are going to be there. I know that this is a play that's got comedy, it's got tragedy to it, but I also know there's musical pieces, that there are one-person show components. It speaks to perhaps one of my first loves, which is variety television and variety performing, and that there's, with Fringe, in my experience, a little something for everybody. So I'm really intrigued by the variety and the versatility that's going to be out there. And I also think it's important and wise to support your fellow artists. So when I'm not on stage performing, I want to go and see as much other art and support as many other artists as I can. What I would like to say to Jiggs Burgess, the playwright, is thank you for this opportunity, for speaking such specificity to this character of Carrol, because something that I have learned in the evolution of my artistry is that the more specific one can be with their storytelling, the more universal it becomes. And the specificity in which Carrol is written lands on me in that I have, over the course of the last 40 some odd years that I've been doing this, I know who this man is, and it's something that I literally was put on this earth to do. And I cannot wait to do it, and I thank you for the chance, Jiggs. Hey, I am Craig Taggart. I am starring as Carrol in the upcoming production of Wounded, produced by P3 Productions. Get your tickets now. Tickets are limited. You do not want to miss this. It's going to be incredible. Can't wait to see you there.